Guns N' Roses were never supposed to be the biggest band in the world. They were too volatile, too aggressive, too unpredictable. Every rule the music industry relied on, discipline, schedules, image control, this band seemed determined to break.
I'm going to give you 30 seconds to redecorate this room. On your mark, set, go. Oh, I have never in my life ever seen anything done like this. This is a wrecking crew. Unbelievable.
And yet, for a brief moment, Guns N' Roses became the most dangerous, powerful, and influential rock band on the planet. This is not the story of how they became famous. It's the story of why that fame nearly destroyed them. When Guns N' Roses formed in Los Angeles in 1985, the city was drowning in polished glam metal. Bands looked flashy, sounded clean, and followed a formula designed to sell posters rather than tell the truth. This band stood out immediately, not because they were louder, but because they were raw. Axl Rose grew up in a deeply unstable environment, marked by abuse, control, and religious extremism. Music wasn't an escape, it was a weapon. Control, structure, and intensity became the only way he knew how to survive. Slash, Izzy Stradlin, Duff McKagan, and Steven Adler came from different forms of chaos, but they shared one thing: they didn't fit anywhere else. That tension became the band's fuel. Appetite for Destruction didn't sound dangerous by accident. The songs weren't fictional rebellion, they were documentation. Addiction, violence, desperation, and hunger. The band lived the songs before they recorded them.
Basically, it's about something that happened in your life 2 years ago.
That authenticity is why the album hit so hard. What made Guns N' Roses truly different wasn't just the sound, it was how unprepared they were for success. Most bands dream about fame for years before it arrives. Guns N' Roses were thrown into it almost overnight. They went from sleeping on floors to selling out arenas without even learning how to function as a stable unit. There were no rules, no hierarchy, no shared vision of what the band should become once the spotlight hit. The industry expected growth, but the band was still in survival mode. And that mismatch created tension that never went away. But what most people don't realize is how fragile that success was. The album barely sold at first. Radio stations avoided it. MTV hesitated. What changed everything wasn't a marketing plan. It was word of mouth. Fans recognized something real. Appetite didn't sell an image. It sold honesty. Once the band exploded, the pressure multiplied instantly. Suddenly, Guns N' Roses were expected to be on time, polite, consistent, and professional. Everything they were not built to be. Axl, who already associated loss of control with danger, responded by tightening his grip on everything. Concerts started late, sometimes hours late, because Axl refused to perform unless every condition felt right. This wasn't arrogance in the usual rockstar sense, it was fear disguised as control. If he controlled the environment, he believed he could control the outcome. The consequences were severe. Riots broke out, shows were cancelled, promoters lost money. Fans were divided between loyalty and frustration. But paradoxically, this chaos only added to the myth. Guns N' Roses weren't just a band, they were an event. Unstable, dangerous, unmissable. Inside the band, cracks were forming. Steven Adler's addiction spiraled out of control. While the band was living fast, Adler couldn't function at all. Recording sessions became impossible. Eventually, he was fired. Not because the band wanted to clean up, but because survival demanded it. That moment quietly changed the balance. Appetite for Destruction worked because the band was equal parts chaos and chemistry. Once members started being replaced, Guns N' Roses slowly stopped being a gang and started to become a hierarchy. The Use Your Illusion era is often remembered as the band at its peak. Bigger stages, bigger sound, bigger ambition. But behind the scenes, it marked the moment Guns N' Roses stopped being a band and started being a project. The recording process stretched endlessly. Decisions became centralized. Creative freedom slowly turned into creative tension. Where Appetite for Destruction captured 5 people pushing in the same direction, Use Your Illusion exposed 5 people pulling apart, each with a different idea of what Guns N' Roses should represent. The albums were successful. The band was not. By the time Use Your Illusion 1 and 2 were recorded, Axl had assumed near total control. Musically, the albums were ambitious, sprawling, and emotionally raw. But structurally, they reflected a band that no longer trusted itself. 2 albums, massive tours, endless shows. On paper, it looked like victory, but in reality, it was exhaustion. The longer the tour went on, the worse the fractures became. Slash and Duff believed in the original spirit of the band: loose, dangerous, instinctive. Axl wanted precision, control, and perfection. These visions were incompatible. The audience saw the explosions on stage. What they didn't see was the silence of it. Band members stopped communicating directly. Messages went through lawyers. Trust evaporated. The chaos that once made Guns N' Roses powerful now made them impossible to maintain. Eventually, Slash walked away. Duff followed. Izzy had already left quietly years earlier. Guns N' Roses didn't officially break up. They simply hollowed out. Axl retreated from the public eye, becoming more myth than musician. The album, Chinese Democracy, took over a decade to complete, not because of ambition alone, but because the band no longer existed as a living organism. By the time the album was released, the world had moved on. And yet, the story didn't end there. When Guns N' Roses reunited years later, the chaos was gone. So was the danger and the unpredictability. What remained was legacy. Fans didn't come for riots anymore. They came for history. Guns N' Roses proved something few bands ever do. Raw honesty can take you to the top. But without balance, it will tear you apart. They weren't destroyed by drugs, fame, or ego alone. They were destroyed by the very intensity that made them unforgettable. And that's the real price of being dangerous.
Ladies and gentlemen, what we have before us here is redecoration unlike any I've ever seen. Oh my God, ladies and gentlemen, you know, it's starting to look a little more like home. These boys have such a touch. They have such a beautiful artistry about them. Oh!